Today is a day ending in Y, so obviously the community is complaining about something, and that something is the new thumbnail and icon for Tower Defense Simulator. People have accused the developers of using AI in their thumbnail and the new icon for Tower Defense Simulator. For reference, this is what the thumbnail looks like. It is a minigunner shooting the normal, the skeleton, the normal boss, and the giant boss on what appears to be tutorial. Meanwhile, the icon is basically the scout doing the same thing-ish, except it's pointing its gun towards the tunnel, which is where tutorial enemies do spawn out of. Now, it is mostly the icon that's getting the most, say, derogatory terms being thrown at it, being accused of AI. Now, the reason why is a little unclear. Some people have said that it's because the scout arm here is not representative of that in the game. Now, I hate to break it to you, icons are not meant to be 100% faithful to what is seen in the game. Like, I hate to break it to you, I don't think GTA is comic book-like, having cartoonish graphics like this. No, GTA 5 does actually have graphics. It's just that for the marketing for Grand Theft Auto 5, they use this type of style. So similarly, the developers are using this type of style, a heavily GFX or graphicized version of towers in the game. And yes, the minigunner here looks realistic. The scout here, not so much with its arm. However, people have said that this arm is unrealistic and is not seen in Roblox. Sorry? I kind of had to break it to you, but it is a Roblox package. In fact, it's just R15, as far as I'm aware. So the arm here, where you can see that it is literally the arm of an R15. And yes, I am aware that the scout doesn't use R15 in Tower Defense Simulator. However, it's just an icon that uses R15. It's not... I can't believe people are taking the icon so seriously that it must be a straight arm that must be doing this. No, the scout must not have an arm that bends because it's unrealistic and AI generated. If this was AI generated, the scout's arm would not bend because in the game, the scout has a straight arm. That is the first clue that this is not AI generated. And yes, it is overly saturated, and so is the thumbnail for the game. Yes, the skybox doesn't look like that in tutorial mode. In fact, tutorial mode has like a sunset icon, and the grass isn't that green. In fact, here it looks like grid squares, and here it's the same, grid squares. Yes, the graphics are oversaturated, but that is the style for mobile games to attract new players, I guess, for kids. Oversaturation of the thumbnail and oversaturation, well, the icon isn't even that oversaturated, I can't lie. It's only the thumbnail's oversaturated. Sure, the icon is bright colours, yeah, sure, and it does look like an ad for a mobile game. However, that's not AI generated. Go after the merits of whether this icon is a good icon to use for Tower Defense Simulator. Sure, when we've had graphical icons like this in the past, but the exact same argument has been made for when the graphical icon used for Tower Defense Simulator looked like this when it was cartoonish, and people said that it was unrealistic of Tower Defense Simulator and that they should change it. However, looking back on it, I don't think many people are complaining about this icon too much when you compare it to this icon. I mean, this icon doesn't even have Tower Defense Simulator written above it. Like, there's no TDS written on the icon, which I believe is like one of the first icons actually not to have TDS written on it. Because all previous icons did have Tower Defense Simulator, as seen here, as seen for here, the molten monster, the nuclear monster. Even the April Fool's update had Tower Defense Simulator, spelled incorrectly, but still, this is the first icon that doesn't have Tower Defense Simulator written on it. Even the thumbnail has Tower Defense Simulator written on it. It's not the first thumbnail if it were to not have the TDS logo, not to have it, because the spring event here doesn't have it. Now, mind you, this isn't the first time the developers have gone down this style for a thumbnail. The developers have gone down this route at least 6 times. So you got this one, the commander icon for V1.49.0 looking like this. This is the least saturated out of the bunch and the least bright out of the bunch, but you can definitely tell that the skybox is of that style. Then you got the Molten update, where it's kind of similar, except the ground isn't as saturated and as colourful, but the sky definitely is. Then you get the Pursuit, where I don't think that many people noticed, given the fact that the Pursuit seems render-ish. But then when it comes to the Commando, yes, you can definitely see that this is the inspiration for these thumbnails. But the last time that this was used was the Commander V1.49.0 thumbnail. This thumbnail, I'll get back to that later. This thumbnail, yes, people criticised this thumbnail back in the day, similar to how they criticised this thumbnail. And the first thumbnail to use this style here. Except that the sky is slightly different, but you can clearly see that the inspiration is there. Anyways, it goes to my point, that this thumbnail is kind of similar in style when it comes to this and it comes to the thumbnail seen here. And many people accused this thumbnail of being AI because it was too high graphical and too bright. Because Below Natural has had to address this in the past. Someone said that the previous thumbnail that I showed, the lighting got placed, it makes the towers look too bright, like AI literally makes any pictures too bright. And Below Natural literally said that, I legit do not understand what is this supposed to mean. Normal lighting plus soft shadows equals AI somehow. Below Natural has asked the community a load of times who spread the lie about the new thumbnail being AI. To be honest, you've got to be really dumb to say that. LOL. Someone's saying that it's probably the saturation that gets accused of it. So colouring, I didn't know that bright colours equals AI. Some people also said that the icons or the towers in the thumbnail look unrealistic. However, Below Natural literally has just posted the image of what the towers are modelled like, as seen here. In fact, I am willing to bet that Below Natural does have the model for the Scout, which does use an R15 arm, as seen here. Because yes, even in previous thumbnails, the towers have used the R6 rig, as seen here, but it is just in this icon where, for some reason, for one arm only, the Scout just bends its arm to point a gun towards a tunnel, similar to that Wojnak, whatever that thing is. I'll get an image for that later. But when the Scout uses a incorrect arm, the community goes berserk and says AI. Which, by the way, reminds me of this image from April Fool's 2022, which has the Scout pointing towards a portal, gun in the wrong hand, but here, gun in the right hand, pointing towards the portal. Now, you may ask why developers are going down the route of having oversaturated or very bright thumbnails. Well, it's very clear that these thumbnails and these icons actually get clicks for Tower Defense Simulator. Furthermore, I do believe that Tower Defense Simulator is now being advertised as like a mainstream Roblox game, given the fact that there is a trailer for it for non-event usage. And ironically enough, it is the thumbnail, the oversaturated thumbnail, which was the first thumbnail to be accused of using AI, that's used for this trailer. Do I necessarily agree with this thumbnail direction or this art direction? I'll be quite frank with you, I don't care. Like, at the end of the day, it's just Tower Defense Simulator marketing their product. And if this is the best way to market their product, so be it. If the developers use this art style, not once, not twice, not thrice, not quadrice, not quintice, not septice, not septagonalize, but octagonalize, I clearly think that developers are going down a route because it is either successful or they just want to piss off the community. And let's be real. Oh, wait. There's actually a ninth thumbnail. Okay, what's that? Non-Gadolinize or something like that? In any case, if developers have used it nearly 10 times, this art direction, very clearly it is working for them. We may argue that it's not as professionally made, in our opinion, as, say, something like the Swarmer update thumbnail. But because all of you, well, some of you, well, most of you are kids, and the developers clearly want to attract more kids to their games. Bright thumbnails. Yes, unfortunately, those are the stimuli that attracts kids to a game. Again, I don't necessarily agree with this. If this was me, it'll be all dark tones and everything. In fact, if it was me, it would have Mason Arch and have it the DLR proudly presented on this thumbnail. However, I'm not in charge of art direction in Tower Defense Simulator. Probably for the best. And ironically enough, even though people in the past, back in 2024, when the original set of thumbnails were made, saying that this was an era of good, end of an era for good TDS thumbnails, the creator who made the thumbnail previously for this specifically posted it on Twitter, and on Twitter they seem to get the appreciation that the community didn't give them, or the TDS community. I don't know if they made the recent thumbnails for Tower Defense Simulator. It has a similar-ish art style, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did, especially when you see the other stuff that they've made for other Roblox games. However, it seems very well, not even surprising. It just seems very contrasting to see the statements on Twitter that people are like saying, oh, it's a good thumbnail, compared to the community response in Tower Defense Simulator saying it's a bad thumbnail. Oh my god, they stole the Crook Boss skin. Oh my god. So yes, hopefully that addresses the rumours, and rumours that came out of nowhere, that the thumbnail and the icons were somehow AI. However, I will say that the developers should go for the right image here. Just saying. I'm very sure that this image here would get more clicks than the left image.